Hello, I'm Vinny. Welcome back to my YouTube long-form videos. This time, it's not a shorts compilation. I'll be going over the design process for my Minecraft OC Longtooth, as well as just kinda yapping about him. I really like this character. He's my current favorite, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get started with his tank form. Here you get to see my lineless process. Technically this drawing could be considered lined because of the white outline for the water, but I consider this lineless since if it was lined there would be a black outline, not a white one. So Longtooth made this tank himself. He does have a suit from before this, being a mechanical diver suit, but I'm not happy with its design yet, so we start here. The sketch was hard to read, so I'll do these lateral lines. You'll see me do color blocking in a second, so I can decide where the final colors go, and the vibrancy will help me see where still needs color. I only really do this for customs and occasionally for personal art. I color reference the Minecraft skin he's based on. If I can find it, I'll toss it up on the screen. His hands, they're sort of organized like bird claws, with two in the front and one in the back that can shift to the front purely for posing purposes. He has a speaker and a control panel in the head of the tank, as well as a hole for him to drop in food. For the actual fish part, you'll see his body plan is pretty simple. He's just a barracuda shape, and even though they're not in this drawing, he does have stripes. The reason he has this suit, intelligence, and the lionfish feelers is because he was born near a radioactive waste site. This caused the two nearby islands to grow large mushrooms and kill off most of the fauna. The only animals to survive were the cows. This is because the radiation caused them to mutate as well. The drawing of him in the tank has the wrong tail shape, and one of the fins on its side is the wrong size, which is why I added the drawing to the side. He actually goes back to the diver's suit when his tank gets damaged, so he can fix it. But he much prefers the full tank, as the suit doesn't have fingers, only crab claws. He lives in near total isolation, his only friend being the mutated cows he's grown up with. The main cow is named Michael, spelled M-Y-C-A-L, because mushrooms. Michael and Longtooth get along very well, despite the language barrier of Michael being literally just a cow. But Longtooth doesn't mind. He considers himself the only sentient being until he's discovered by the others, my friends OCs. He kinda realizes he's not that special at all. He gets along with them though, mostly Thetis. Okay, just Thetis. She's his only friend for a long time, which makes his upcoming tragedy even more tragic. His main source of technology is an abandoned lab. It was set up to monitor the radiation, mutated cows, and a mysterious dark hole boring into the island, but lack of funding for the entire company caused the lab to shut down. I don't really remember much of the art process for this one, as I did it like almost a year ago. So you'll see me periodically go back to the side ref of his fish body. I'm doing that right now. That's because almost the entire thing is at like 99% opacity, and it was bothering me. So instead of redrawing it entirely, I traced the exact thing down to the pixel. At the time, I didn't know you could turn off the expansion of the bucket tool and fuzzy select tool, which would have helped me immensely in this predicament. Anyway, I'm running out of things to say for this part of the video, so just enjoy the rest of it, which isn't that much. other characters in the group. I added Warden and Strider and Mushroom at first, then I decided to make it worse and add Jellyfish, Yeti Crab, and Wither Skeleton. What happens is DM, my friend's character, kidnaps Longtooth and experiments on him, splicing his DNA and causing him to mutate further. This drawing is way in the future of the timeline, hence the accessories being one of Mahi's ties. Mahi is a different Friends OC. Red Fur Longtooth, this version, is helped by Mahi to cope with his struggles and learn to accept his new body, while Green Fur Longtooth, who is after this, is from a timeline where Mahi never existed. Anyway, his pectoral and pelvic fins mutated into limbs and his body and tail elongated. The splicing added all of the features except his feelers. Red Fur Longtooth doesn't really have too much of a story. His character is really flat. He's like a goofball at heart and ends up being a father of many because fish. You'll see this in a minute, but one of his mushrooms is green, and I don't really remember why. I think the reason was gay, though. So you'll see this after I finish the first half of the drawing. But I make his limbs transparent to show the wither skeleton bones. It is cool, and I guess it makes sense because he is part jellyfish, but I do get rid of it for Green Fur Longtooth. I picked Mushroom for obvious reasons. Warden was because I liked the chest hole, and Strider was to give him the legs. I really like how long legs look on characters. For some reason, I just think it's a really interesting stylistic choice. Wither Skeleton was for the stature. His entire skeleton is that of a wither skeleton, except for his head and tail. This is true for Green Fur as well. Jellyfish and Yeti Crab were for more real-world animals. I wanted to give him fur, which I could have achieved with Mushroom now that I think about it, and Jellyfish was to explain the stingers on his head. You'll see that I get rid of both accessories for Green Fur, as the ref didn't really need accessories, and I don't think that version of him would have any in the first place. This Longtooth, however, is full of joy and whimsy, and is really bad at being scary, though he tries, especially pre-mutation. The mutation makes him really paranoid, and only really talking to Mahi and Pumpkin, who you'll see in a second, and avoiding DM altogether. Even when the whole group meets up, he would prefer to stay behind with his children, but Mahi doesn't let him. That's all I have to say for this version, so just watch and enjoy. Now we have Green Fur Longtooth, who doesn't have green fur until closer to the end. My main goal with this design was to depict the scar from DM's experimentation and to make his stinger hair look more like locks. Longtooth is a POC character. I don't have a specific ethnicity in mind, but he is from the native range of real barracuda. This speed paint is significantly shorter because I bleached again, and there was like 2 whole minutes of dead air after I sketched his back scar. Anyway, his claws are more like protrusions from his elongated fins. He can control them like fingers, but it takes him a very long time to get the hang of it. The story of Green Fur LT is that after DM mutated him, he lashes out at the girls for doing nothing about DM kidnapping him. This causes his banishment to the Nether, where he takes up residence in a bastion. In his isolation, he creates a homunculus from a pumpkin and a creaking heart. As of writing this, I haven't finished Pumpkin's design yet, but I have as of recording this. And at the end of the time lapse, you'll see me add the mushrooms and resize the ones on the tail because they looked too small. So you get to see my current coloring style with this speed paint. I don't typically add to the sketches after I import them into IBIS, but for this one I did because my idea for the back view was a lot harder to execute without the sketch than with. His fur is green in this one just because it's a better color composition, and it didn't make sense for the fur to be red and his bones to also be red, so I switched that up. Here is where I add in the mushrooms. I decided to go all green for them for more color unity and keep the red as an accent color. That's all for this part, so on to the next. For me, it's been hours, but for you, it's been an instant. This is Pumpkin. This video is long enough, so you're not really getting his other ref, but there's not much difference. Pumpkin is Longtooth's freak-ass son. Like I said, he's a homunculus made from a creaking heart and a pumpkin, as well as some of Longtooth's blood. He was made to be a servant and company for Longtooth, but he's typically wandering around outside the bastion, and is who the others see first when they go to retrieve Longtooth from the Nether, causing confusion. I'm choosing to ignore me drawing on the sketch layer. So anyway, for this drawing, I just sketched a quick face. As you can see, Pumpkin is a very thin creature. He's also taller than Longtooth, and his spines are longer. He's covered in thin fur, except for on his arms and his head, where he has this cool mohawk. And he has an extra set of tail bones on the outside of his tail. He has lizard-like feet that are covered in scales that help him traverse the lava. When he's mad at Longtooth, he would stand in the middle of the lava lake and refuse to come back until he's bored. In the sketch you can see his tail is a lot thicker than it ends up being in the final drawing. I just couldn't get it to look right thin in the sketch, so I decided to go over that in the digital drawing. You can't see me add lines to his exoskeleton, but it's segmented by vertebrae and rib. So his design is mostly based on a salmon, like mahi, which is a completely different fish. But for this universe, I think the mutant DNA would make up for that. Pumpkin is a nervous wreck. He doesn't really trust anyone outside of Longtooth, and we haven't really discussed his relationships outside of LT, so that might come up if I ever do another Minecraft video. Maybe I'll draw a scene or something and talk about my friends' characters. But getting back on track, Pumpkin is a big fan of his namesake. He likes gardening them and carving them. Once he arrives in the overworld, he takes up residence in a nearby frozen ocean biome where he makes several snow golems. They kind of overrun the place. So this is where I'm going to leave the video for now, as I let the rest of the speed paint run its course. Big thank you to my fellow fish friends for inspiring me to even make these characters and expand on their lore. I'd also like to thank you for watching this video. You didn't have to click on it, and I'm glad you did. Feel free to like the video, subscribe for more, and leave a comment telling what you thought about Longtooth and Pumpkin. And of course, have a great day.